As I entered the doors of the YMCA, Amy was mid-sentence with Shilpa. "You don't know what you don't know." And in Amy's style, without missing a beat, smiling with her entire face, she exclaimed, "Kim!" I accepted her invitation to weave into the conversation. "Johari's window!" Her eyes flew wide. Shilpa focused on me, blank-faced and a pleasant smile. She has a very light presence, floating through the day, pleasantly greeting the members, giving as little away about herself as possible. Amy is a sleuther, CSI being one of her favorite shows, and when I enter, a live mystery show has space to play. And she played when she said, "I don't know what that is." I busted out laughing, the litany now in my hands. "If you're truly curious, I'll let you explore while I do my workout." Amy responded, "Well, that's easy. I'll just Google Johari's window." I replied, "Johari starts with a J." And it is true, looking it up is the easy part. It's the sleuthing of linking it to why I said it, which means you'll need to trace your footsteps back to when I entered and what you said that had to do with Johari's window. Amy's eyes were already tracing her mind to the past. "Was it, you don't know what you don't know?" I said, "That's a great question." I moved past the desk as I entered the workout room with a smile on my face. Amy is so fun to litany with. And then, as I entered the workout room, I became lost in my world, in my time, in my space, as I did my routine. When I headed out, my world lingered as I neared their backs, until I noticed Amy's computer screen open to Johari's window, and I burst out laughing, causing them both to turn, seeing it was me, and they both responded in kind as Amy posed her question through the laughter, "What?" which only made me laugh more. "Your computer." She turned. "Oh yeah, well, I didn't get that far." I get it. Work can interfere with play. I pulled to the side of the desk, looking for props to fill in the gap of where we left off. The Johari window is a two-dimensional model to identify self in relationship to others. It was created by psychologists Joseph Luft and Harrington Ingham, hence the name Johari, using a combination of their first names. The window symbolizes the frame segmented into 4 quadrants. Open, the awareness of a person demonstrated by behaviors, feelings, and motivations visible and thus known to self and others. Blind, often referred to as blind spots. These can be annoying because they are a person's behaviors, feelings, and motivations visible to others but not to self. Most people attempt to conceal these because they tend to hit on repeated patterns and are a sensitive spot because of the repeated hit, making the person feel judged and subsequently devalued. The hidden, however, is a bit more comfortable, at least as compared to the blind, because these are behaviors, feelings, and motivations known to self, but not to others. This is still a rather delicate area because they are hidden for a reason, similar to the blind spots because these hit upon the zone of feeling devalued. And finally, the trigger that brought the window to mind when I entered the why, the unknown. This is so my jam. These are the mysterious behaviors, feelings, and motivations known neither to self nor to others. After explaining the pains of the windows, I pulled up a piece of paper and layered in Flatland, because the window is a two-dimensional model. Thus, the frame has made this the problem, limiting the perspective and therefore exploring the self within this window. When adding in the third dimension, as Sagan elucidated to me when I was 11, we have access to not only the blind spots, our hidden pain, and the unknown. It is the portal to liberation. But how do these dimensions translate to the real world? Think of the self as a square in Sagan's video, and the home represents the hidden pain in Johari's window. When self leaves home, they are now exposed, vulnerable to the blind and hidden being revealed. They work really hard, whether known or not, to only expose the open pain until they encounter an apple. The apple is that entity who has integrated their shadows, longing to recruit other two-dimensional objects to the land of third dimension. The apple discovered that the point of shadows and projections are the clues of dimensionality and subsequently recovered their dimensionality. The square is then left with a decision: to hold the frame of two dimensions and feel inadequate to the apple, or to ask the missing question: How did they become a two-dimensional square? That's when we look to diamonds for our clues.
Thank you, Natalie. So today we're talking about inclusions. And quite often when people start talking about inclusions and diamonds, they immediately think of this is the clarity scale. And inclusions have a bearing on the clarity of diamonds. And sort of the most desirable or most valuable diamonds are those at the left that don't have any inclusions at all. And these are sort of what people ogle over, like this 102 carat D flawless diamond that was sold last October. So this diamond doesn't have any inclusions in it whatsoever. But actually, in its rough state, this diamond did have some inclusions. They were just cut and polished away during the manufacturing process.
The diamond in its raw state has inclusions, but when it is cut and polished away during the manufacturing process, it becomes flawless. But where did we get this value scale of diamonds?
Fearing what this could mean for the industry, action was taken. In 1888, Cecil John Rhodes founded De Beers Consolidated Mines, which came to control all mining operations within South Africa, and eventually a great majority of the entire world's diamond production. Holding such a monopoly allowed them to directly control the supply of diamonds on the market. With the supply of diamonds now able to be artificially limited, the value rose again. By about 1900, De Beers controlled about 90% of the world's diamond supply. By 1990, this figure had dropped to only 80%. Today, however, De Beers owns only about 30% of the world's diamond supply. The high price of diamonds today is actually a much more honest reflection of supply and demand, as demand has exploded in many countries like China and India. It's a myth that this old tactic of tight manipulation is why they're still so expensive. De Beers simply no longer has the monopoly that allowed this to be the case. Interestingly, diamonds are relatively more expensive now than they were during the age of De Beers manipulation. Diamonds would be discovered in other parts of Africa as well. Between 1870 and 1960, the vast majority of the world's diamond supply came from sub-Saharan Africa. During decolonization and into the modern day, many of these diamond mines were taken over by corrupt governments or the corrupt warlords who opposed them, who worked them with forced labor and sold the diamonds to fund violent, destabilizing activities in countries like Angola, the Ivory Coast, and Liberia. Such diamonds have been termed blood diamonds, or conflict diamonds. And though efforts have been taken to prevent them from reaching the global market, perhaps about 10% of diamonds involved in the global diamond trade today have such origins. Though diamonds have been used on engagement rings since at least the 15th century, this practice was not set in stone. Up until the 1940s, numerous other gems, like opals, rubies, and sapphires, were used for engagement rings. However, it was in the 1940s that De Beers' advertising campaigns turned the diamond into the go-to stone of matrimony, with the famous slogan, "A diamond is forever."
Diamonds became the symbolic representation of value and forever in Flatland. The frame was cast as we became confined with the perspective of seeking flawless as defined by De Beers, cutting and polishing away evidence of our inclusions.
Where is this material from? And for that, we have to think about where diamonds come from. Where do diamonds come from? Well, we find them at the surface of the earth. We mine them quite often from these primary volcanic deposits. These are quite often kimberlites. And the kimberlites are a volcanic rock that have traveled upwards from great depths, from somewhere below about 200 kilometers deep. And this is where most diamonds form.
I smiled at this term I'd never heard. Kimberlites. I started to play in my head of this term with my name. Kimber lights, traveling upwards from great depths where the origins of diamonds were formed. It felt like I was being acknowledged by name and having traveled to the surface to remind the world of raw diamonds and the value of their origin story.
So we think most diamonds come from a depth of about 150 to 200 kilometers deep in the earth. And this is, for a ballpark, maybe around about 100 miles. And the inclusions in these diamonds are actually a snapshot, a very well-preserved snapshot of what happens inside our planet. This is a depth that we can't dig down to. We can't access it in any other way. And there really aren't other minerals or rocks that come from this depth well preserved. So diamonds are a really valuable way to see what's happening down in the earth. So here's a diamond here that's growing, it's getting larger, and it might envelop some neighboring mineral grain that becomes trapped inside the diamond. So this is now an inclusion in a diamond, and the idea is that when we see diamonds at surface, they've been transported a long way, all the way up to the surface of the earth, and we can find diamonds that still have these inclusions trapped inside them. And those inclusions are really well preserved because the diamond encapsulating that material is very hard and almost chemically inert. So it's very good at protecting that material. So if we sort of zoom out a little bit from this cross section, and sort of try to fit it into a larger geological context, here's that cross section I just drew, and it fits about here on this cross section. So we're saying that most diamonds form in this region here, about 150 to 200 kilometers deep in the base of the oldest and thickest parts of continents. And sometimes this is referred to as the mantle keel or the lithospheric keel. And the place where diamonds form is sometimes called the diamond window. So the inclusions we see trapped in diamonds are from rocks that exist in this environment, sort of diamond host rocks. So when we actually look at inclusions in diamonds, we might see something like this. Sometimes they're brightly colored, and that can be a clue as to their identity.
The inclusions are the snapshots of the depths that give evidence of the diamond's origins. These inclusions give clues to their identity, yet in the De Beers diamond market, to have value, these will need to be cut away or hidden or denied. This is the dismemberment process. This is why we forget who we are and become a square, and why we need models like Johari's window. We are taught to flatten ourselves out, squeeze into a normal arc, and work on these never-ending shadows so we can become flawless to have value in the De Beers diamond market. The self becomes an unknown to self and tries to resolve the three windows within Johari's frame. Amy's quizzical facial expression demonstrated she was captivated as she grasped for resolution to this paradox of solving for this you don't know what you don't know, the elusive unknown zone. To which I offered, you cannot solve the problem within the frame the problem is identified. The problem is the frame. Therefore, leaving the current solution as, it is what it is. The solution resided within the clue when I entered the why, through play.
You're just going to put that right up. Oh, you know how that goes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I have to get ready.
You have to get ready now. We have 5 more minutes in the playroom, and then it will be time to go down to the waiting room where your mom is.
Okay. Take the blood test.
And you're going to take my blood with that. Oh. So you know how to use this.
Because I got one at home.
Oh, you have one at home, so you know how to use it. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And you got that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Whoops. And that goes, like that. Mm-hmm. Oh. And you're going to put that right there and check on me. And you're making that go around. You just checked me.
Yeah, maybe you need to check me now.
Oh, so you think maybe you need to be checked too?
Yeah, put this mask on.
So I need to put the mask on.
And put this over your neck.
And I put this.
Over your neck.
You show me how you want me to put it.
Here, let me do.
So you're going to put that on me like that. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I'll put the mask
And you're going to put the mask on me. Like, there, you put the mask on me now. Now I have the mask on.
Take that off.
I have this on my neck.
Okay, and put this
And
on.
we're going to put this on you right here.
And put that through here, and put that on your ears.
And I put, okay, now I put, so now I put this right there.
There it
Okay,
is.
now I got that.
Put it through here.
And then I put this right
There.
there.
And then squeeze that.
And then I squeeze this.
The therapist observes the child while they play and follows the child's lead. The child's lead. This is what I did with Sebastian as we traversed into the unknown. We followed the unschool model, allowing him to lead, which can be a rude awakening at times. So last night, around, let's say 2 a.m,
I was loud.
you screamed so loud.
Yeah. I did that more than
It
just two, like 5.
scared the out of me, jarred me awake, heart racing. I had to calm myself down and just go like, I need to listen just to make sure that there's not like something really bad going on, because it sounded like legit yelling. Have you ever done that before where you woken me up yet?
No. Never. That's really weird.
So of the never times that you've done it before, do I ever yell at you or tell you to be quiet?
No.
Never. And what have I told you about that?
Plenty of times.
Huh?
Plenty of times.
But what have I said? How have I
you like
I
to
like
hear
it.
me.
Yeah. Why do I like to hear it?
You like hearing me happy?
Yeah. Very happy, even though it jars me awake. Okay, so it jarred me awake so bad that I went down this like irrational path of like, have I fucked up my son's life? He's just playing video games all night. I got really panicked. I got into this really bad state reality and I couldn't go back to sleep. And so I just ended up pulling up my email. And would you mind opening your email for me? Like hit refresh.
Oh, yeah.
There it is. Okay. All right. So.
Oh, you got...
Okay. So, okay. So first of all, just a second. So first of all, why are your emails in my email app? Do you remember why?
Because my phone?
Right.
Right.
So to track your phone that we were replacing, you needed me to use your email. So, and then when you were going to that tournament, you needed to set up Venmo and stuff. So you needed me to kind of help you with that, right? Mm-hmm. So do you value the fact that I have all your passwords, and does it benefit you? Yeah, all the stuff that I do. Okay. So it's just to help support you, right?
Yeah.
And you're how old?
18.
Okay. Yeah. So, but you appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good. All right. So I guess this was at 2 a.m. because this was at 2 a.m. I pull open and I'm like, why is YouTube sending me a notification? I was really confused. Okay, so can you just read like the first line to me of this? Okay, so first, tell me what it is that we're looking at.
It's YouTuber hearting the comment I posted on a video of his.
Okay, so this is he's a YouTuber?
Yeah.
Okay, and that's a video he had just posted?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then you put a comment on his post.
Yes.
Okay. So just read me the first line.
It's very nerdy.
Okay, yeah, just read it.
A few things I'd like to note. If Slayer does /dash cancel Pete, Dandy Pile Bunker, he will cross up even on FP, so be aware of that.
Okay. And then can you read the part where it says, I'll leave it at that at the very end?
I'll leave it at that because it's honestly just a messy info dump. If anyone has more questions, I'd be happy to help or to share. And great video as always, Gar. I'll keep it.
Okay. And did he respond?
No.
No, he did.
Just the heart.
Yeah, he hearted.
Yeah, but that's not a reply.
Well, he acknowledged you
Yes.
with a heart.
Mm-hmm.
So he appreciated it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking at this, and in this moment, like a rush of joy comes through me. I am so, any doubt I had for that second, and you realize the reason why I was doubting is because I got scared, right? You know what happens when I get startled.
Right.
And so my mind goes into this irrational place. Okay, so this absolutely, in a second, brought me such joy. Do you know why?
Because this is a community I'm a part of, that fighting game community.
So, okay, as I read those words, how much of that do you think I understood?
None.
Okay, can you explain that to me, what that means?
No.
Okay, why not? Why can't you explain that to me?
Because I have 1,000 hours in that game.
Yeah, because it was so, the language is so unique to the game, right? It would just take, like, you have to experience it to be able to understand it, right?
Yeah.
I would just, you have, like you said, you have 1,000 hours in the game. And so this is a very specific language. So this goes back to the, why I still have your email, which was that tournament and how you had to set things up for that tournament. Mm-hmm. So do you remember what you said to me when you were thinking about this tournament? I remember I was sitting in the room when you came into me and said something.
I'm going to do something weird or something.
And you're going to shock me.
Oh, yeah, kind of.
Because it's shocking, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And you said what? That you were thinking about doing a tournament? In person in Tacoma.
Did I say Tacoma?
Yeah, you said Tacoma, but okay, that's close enough. It's a couple hours away.
Yeah.
Okay. And so then, but you had a lot of like things to work out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you ended up like, I assume that you read all of the details that you needed because you came in with like, I need this, I need this, I need this.
I read a lot and I asked some questions.
You asked questions. Okay, that's great. Okay, so when you came back from the tournament, do you remember saying to me something about what was surprising about it for you?
How easy it was to talk to people and
yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And it's because you guys can talk like this, right?
Basically, yeah.
Yeah. You guys have your own language.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when you and I talk, kind of like what's happening now, do you like it when I put words in your mouth sometimes when it's hard for you to, because it's hard for you to not speak that, speak my language?
Saves me time.
Yeah, it saves you time. Does it save you time because it takes a long time to figure out the words in your head?
Well, I can't really picture a scenario off the top of my head where you put words in the mouth. Like talking with Dad sometimes, or?
Yeah, talking with Dad, or even right now when we're having this. Actually, you're talking a lot in this conversation. Is this conversation like, would you say that the way that you're communicating in this conversation is fairly typical or atypical?
Depends.
Okay, I love this. Depends on what?
Well, with my friends and such, this is me being more conservative than normal.
More conservative? What about with me?
I'm more verbal.
Right now?
Mm-hmm.
Than you normally are?
Yeah.
And normally, What do you say to me when we talk?
Just like, mm-hmm.
Or, oh.
I don't know.
Well, there's a lot, I don't know, right? So when we're doing the I
Yeah.
don't know, in those dialogues, I really need to put a lot more words in your mouth, right?
Yeah.
Give you a lot of choices and I don't know. But this, like you just said, which I think is pretty cool, is that when you're in your world, you guys can have these conversations and it's just, you're way more vocal.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for this and for really scaring me. And please continue to do so, and I love you. My 18-year-old son does not need to hide from me. He is very open because we do play therapy and let him lead. And I have access to his life because he needs my support as he explores the worlds he finds community within, and a language that is utterly foreign and completely of no interest to me. But this is his world, and I want to support his world expansion with his people. He had a journey to go through to feel safe, not only safe to expand his own mind, but safe in leaving our home. And this tournament he participated was intrinsically motivating his exploration beyond our home, which allowed him to retain his shape that did not respond well in the Flatland arc. The intrinsic motivation is how he has retained his third person as they have grown together through play. I did not step in between him and his inner authority. He has found his people who speak his language. This video we created demonstrates the language barriers we can face when we are trying to connect from different minds. I have experienced this with others, such as the non-speaking community, or even Helen Keller. They are communicating, just in a language most cannot access. My son is very verbal when he can speak this coding language I cannot understand. In the video, I am putting words in his mouth by these questions. I am working with him to help string these clues together that he experiences but cannot fully comprehend because of our differences. And my putting words in his mouth acts as a translation bridge, opening up access and subsequently creating connection to worlds. I did not want to force Sebastian to conform into my world. I was far more interested in the world he was bringing into the collective. And his path has been very different than Ava's. I have kids on opposite ends of the spectrum, how they want to create their world. I love that my daughter crushed the dandelion in this video she made with her boyfriend. The dandelion is the symbol for Shiro, At first, I didn't love it. My heart clenched until I saw how she was releasing the seeds, her way, crushing it, with her very talented boyfriend. I was in the midst of creating this video when she sent me his video, so I asked if I can include the video with this one, because this is what serendipity is. I have been working from the inside out, the inside immersed in flatland, to discover the out with the Shiro path. My son has been working outside out, and my daughter has been inside in. I think of her as my spy, deeply immersed in flatland, while secretly aware she is not trapped there. That whatever pressure she experiences to measure up, leaving her with a sense of failure, she knows she can come home for her reconnaissance mission. I support my kids' intrinsic motivation to participate in whatever world they find interesting, while holding the line of remembering that their value isn't measured by grades or awards or relationships that may come and go. I do not discount their experiences by saying it is what it is, or it's normal, or it was deserved. I do not hold up the perspective of natural consequences when most consequences are punitive and manufactured by the collective mindset. The child is the experiencer, and we all have an inner child. The therapist is the observer of the play. The child communicates unconsciously through play, open because playing provides a safe environment, giving permission to freely express, which is often true for most people, and why play is a key to self-recovery. Not self-discovery per se, because this is a reconnaissance mission. It is a remembering process to gain information that is visible even though we perceive it to not be. The unconscious represents the 3 window panes, blind, hidden, and unknown. The therapist's role is to suss out these zones. Ideally, the therapist represents the apple. I say ideally because it is possible the therapist is attempting to resolve within the frame, to offer insights and subsequent tools and treatments to support the caregiver and the greater community at large to fit into flat land under the arc. Most caregivers, therapists, and other types of healers are working within the frame because they themselves have carved away their inclusions, hoping to have value in the De Beers diamond market, and reside within flatland, dealing with their inner and or outer child who is presenting with issues as they slip outside the norms. Because we all need help dismembering the child so we can find our adulting worth in flatland. Is it any wonder we are residing in the merging murky? Not only do I have many voices in my head as represented in the XY grid, but the perception of these characters has a spectrum of expressions from merged to integrated. I'll zoom into my 5. A 5 at the highest end, integrated, is a visionary, observing everything with extraordinary perceptiveness and insights, as well as attains skillful mastery of interest. On the lowest end, merged, reclusive, phobic, suicidal ideation, and schizotypal personality disorders. Now times this by 9, since all types are on my committee. Increased sensitivity and self-awareness increases integration, reducing internal conflict within the voices in my head. Trauma is a significant contributing factor to levels of development. Below the radar trauma, such as double binds, makes this even more so. When combining the Enneagram developmental levels with the ARC, to succeed on the XY grid is to decrease sensitivity, since resilience is needed to move from ignorance to wisdom, and therapies aimed to desensitizing will lasso the constellation of being into the umbrella of normal, sacrificing clarity of self to belong to the merging murky. Is it any wonder we can't distinguish who we are from another? We have forgotten because we have dismembered and discounted the self for the sake of belonging in flatland under the umbrella of normal. That's if you're lucky. If you happen to be unlucky and are too outside the norms, you are unable to contain yourself within the Johari frame, unable to solve for the paradox of finding value in the devaluing, and end up in a mental war demonstrating the mental world of excluding inclusions. Bateson discovered one piece of the puzzle when he coined the below-the-radar abuse of double binds, but it certainly didn't set this young man free.
Well, let me spell out a case or two. The guy says, I've been suggesting to him that some things were pretty wrong between him and his mother. He says, quote, Germany's forgotten when we know the colors of everybody. Translating, that means it's no use assigning the causes of blame for war to one side of the interaction. Germany's forgotten when you know the colors of everybody. If we say she had movement in her because of what she caused, we're only condemning ourselves, and you should know that, he says, especially if you're the wrong side. First of all, it's no good assigning blame to one side of a quarrel. Second, if we say she had movement in her, if we say that she failed as a loving support, say, she had movement in her, she wobbled. If we say she had movement in her because of what she caused, my schizophrenia, we're only condemning ourselves. We're only making ourselves unlovable. And you should know that, he says, to me, especially if you're the wrong side. And he goes on, and a contrivance, he said, to change the color of a man's eye, which is either EYE or first-person pronoun, ego, to please a psychologist is too much. And you're all psychologists, he says, in spite of some of you who turn and become medical doctors for that part of you which hurts. The protest against the contrivance, that is, it isn't really any use to take him, or should we say, give him exercises, play various propagandas on him, to try to make him come over and live in our world, to manipulate him. Because the act of manipulation is so placed in the whole structure of this ecology that it cannot be, and cannot by its nature be, the glue that will tie the thing together. But this really, you know, is what all these elaborate disciplines of meditation and the rest are about. They're about the problem of how to get there without getting there by the manipulative path, because the manipulative path can never get there.
Identification of abuse is only part of the picture. Panning back to see, inclusions are faults. They are faults of the self's origin. Continuing to cut away at the self to solve this paradox of the window within the mindset that posed the paradox denies the true source of self, an entity that emerged from a deep community of diamonds who didn't come to the surface to be carved for the elite to demonstrate a manufactured value. I am not interested in being tested, because the measures of what is tested is already set up for failure. The moment we accept the model of cutting at our inclusions, we've stepped into a rigged game. Winners rising to the top of the pyramid, justifying the means to the end, becoming the hero to their story and a perpetrator to another because sacrifice of the self was needed for that place, holding up that standard of self-sacrifice to get to the top. And a life of proving and testing and cutting and forgetting to become a De Beers flawless diamond. This is the giving tree story, the cut diamond, the tree sacrificing itself for man, both having transacted themselves in flatland. Oh, how I'd love to say I don't give a F for people who continue to perpetuate this model, but that is like me saying I don't give a crap about cancer, which took my dad's life. Cells turning against cells, requiring surgery to remove or therapies to annihilate at extreme cost. And the idea that we can manifest our way out of this exclusion denies the reality of interconnectedness. Because we can only hold ourselves in isolation for so long, at some point we all need to face our reliance upon one another. Our inclusions bear the mark of an ecosystem that shaped us. We are a living archaeological masterpiece, faults and all. A woman had entered the gym. Shilpa acknowledged her entrance because she had her job to do. I concluded the conversation by saying to Amy, I hope you don't get another headache later. This was a callback to the last time we had our front desk play, and we're talking about flickering lights. Introduce yourself. You are?
Hello, I'm Amy from the Y.
The Y in Snoqualmie.
The Y in Snoqualmie.
Okay, and as I came in and I just said hello, what did you say?
The lights flickered as soon as she came in the door.
That's it. And the first time I exposed my inclusions and revealed myself to her.
His body, and it's like just
Actually, this is one of the tests that happened. I was like blown away. I forget who it was. Oh, you're doing that again with
the flickering lights.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw
love
that.
that. God,
Wow. Yeah, I got chills. That's crazy. I don't always catch it, but it's like, wow, that was obvious.
Oh yeah.
That was it. Yeah.
Okay, so let me come back to my other question. What do you guys envision are the next steps that you would want me to participate in? Because listen, I can recede so quickly. No problem. I can go behind the scenes. Oh, look at you doing that again.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
You are flashing a light at me.
Wow.
Are you asking me to be more in the spotlight? Is that what that means?
To which she bought my book, with no promises to read, because she isn't a reader. Having been called forward by Shilpa, the woman slowly moved closer to the front desk, not wanting to break into some clearly unusual dialogue. As Amy responded, I bet I'll get a headache later. I moved out of the way, turned to exit, as the woman said, You don't have to leave. As I breezed through the door, I replied, It's your turn now.
Is it crazy that I'm grateful for all the pain? 'Cause I'm a little bit hurt, but a lot more free. I ain't saying that you never took a toll on me. And for what it's worth, I can find